I get the same question almost every single day in my Instagram DMs, in my YouTube comments, sometimes even real life. And the question is, Dino, how do you get people to actually see your message on Instagram DMs? I have made multiple videos on exactly how to actually send Instagram outreaches, like all type of strategies to actually do, and literally everything from A to Z on how to actually do it. But I never actually explained how to make sure that people actually see your message in the first place. And this is why I'm doing this video today. The first thing that we have to focus on when it comes to actually Instagram outreach and actually making sure that our prospects see the message will be literally just being a little bit controversial and not just salesy. And you have to understand that you have to be tactical here. You have to think a little bit outside of the box. There are thousands of people who are sending messages every single day to the same person that you're sending messages as well. So you have to stand out. And the only way to stand out would be through being a little bit different, to, as I said, thinking out of the box. The second thing would be literally just engaging in their comments first. So you have to understand again, those people will see you for the first time, or maybe they will not even recognize your message, or maybe they not even recognize your profile, so they will not even open it in the first place. So like, how do you actually make sure they see your message and that actually recognize your face would be that you post with more in their comments. So you engage with them. Let's say you write, 2 or 3 comments the day before. So this way they'll be like, okay, let's say I remember Dino from my comments, and then when he actually sends me a message, I'll remember at least his face, I will at least open the message, and then I will see something that triggered me, and then later I will book the call. So you always have to at least, engage with them, like a couple of their posts, engage, let's say, in their comments. You can even reply, in their Instagram story, but just do something so I can actually recognize your face before you send a message. Third thing would be basically you sending messages to the wrong people. And look, don't get me wrong, you can pretty much send messages to everyone, and if you have the right type of strategy, you will get clients. But I see a bunch of people just sending messages to the wrong people. Like, just person who don't need your help won't buy from you. So you have to actually find people that might need your help. And the best way to do it is basically just go into your, let's say, competitors' content, go into their posts, go into their comments, and just, see what type of questions are people asking. And let's say if someone, I don't know, has a question in that comment related to the topic that you can as well solve, just simply go to that person because that person is actually looking for the answers. So using that same psychology, you can always find people who actually might need your answers. So for example, it can be audience of your competitors, they can be people who are commenting on their posts and asking some questions, they can be like pretty much anyone who just need your help. But always make sure that actually someone who are sending messages are actually a good fit for you, because otherwise you're just losing time and energy. The next thing would be proper follow-ups. Look, I'm talking about this always, doesn't matter what type of Instagram outreach video it is, I'm always talking about this. And its follow-ups are so important because people, I actually did it for myself. I highlight people who actually open a message, they read it, and they want to book a call, they want to respond, but they just forget. I don't know, something happens in the meantime, like some friend called them and they have to go, I don't know, throw out the trash, for example. They just forgot to answer. So follow-ups are super important for that reasons as well. The other reason will be because, again, some people just don't see your message. So maybe let's say after first, second, third follow-up, they will start seeing your messages, and then basically they will open and be like, who is this guy who's sending me so many messages? They will read the initial message and then move forward from there. And the third thing would be as well, because look, of course, we don't want it to happen, but potentially it can go into spam. If you are sending too many messages and you are sending that, with an unqualified profile, then most likely your messages will go to spam. But don't worry, you can even get clients from that. Because if you send enough follow-ups, sometimes they will check in the spam. Obviously, it's not that calculated and it's a bit, let's say, luck, but still they can, always go into their spam messages. They can always check their messages, and if they see you who send them, let's say, 5 messages and you keep it consistent and you're always on the top of that list every single time they open it, eventually they will see it, and eventually they read your message, and eventually they book a call, and eventually they can even become your client. So the best way to actually send follow-ups is basically using 2-2-2 follow-up framework. Let me explain. So basically 2 days after sending your first initial message, you send them the first follow-up. Then 2 weeks after the first initial message, you send them the second follow-up, and 2 months after the initial message, you send them the third follow-up. After that, honestly, there is no need for doing it because, again, if they haven't responded to you for so long, they probably not even are going to be qualified to buy. Then we have volume and consistency. Look, outreach is a harsh game. It's about the numbers. It's about how much you send. It's about what type of people you send. And it's really about the time and numbers. It's about the volume, because the volume negates luck. If you just keep going, Eventually you will find out strategy. Do you think that when I was starting out, I didn't have any money to invest into some coaching and mentorship, so someone actually give me the shortcut? I had to do it on my own. So obviously it took me some time, but when I was starting out, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Throughout the time, I started learning, I started experiencing for myself, and throughout the experience, I understood what works. And not even that, but again, my messages started to pick up because my accounts became more warmer, because I started to actually find the right type of people to send. I started to have that intuition when it comes to finding leads to actually send messages to. So you have to understand this is about the volume and it's about the time. Consistency plus volume. You have to stay for long enough and send a lot of messages. Now look, obviously this video is about the messages and how to actually send outreach and how to get seen in outreach. But as well, it's the same thing when it comes to content. It's the same thing when it comes to sales calls. Like, it's really about how many sales calls you take. I mean, I have personally taken probably over 500 sales calls. So of course I know what I'm doing. Of course that I have maybe a little bit better experience that I had, let's say, when I was at 100 calls, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to content. I posted so many LinkedIn posts. I posted so many, Instagram videos. So obviously, throughout the time I understood it works. Then basically, as I said before, like you can actually get into the spam. But how do we prevent that to happening is going to be by having a warmed up account. So what I would always recommend is basically first of all using the personal account. And the reason for it is simple because people buy from people who they like, know and trust. So if they see your, let's say, I don't know, company's page, they'll most likely not even answer your messages because like who answers to some, I don't know, name of the company nowadays? Like nobody does that. They answer to the people, and especially if your profile is super good optimized. So here are a couple of things you have to take in consideration before you send the first message. Number one is basically going to be your username. Here you can literally just, do a little bit of, freestyling when it comes to your just first and last name. You can as well put some type of nickname and then the first name. For example, like you have Emperor Dino. Like for example, I have some clients who have the coach and then their name. And you can always like freestyle around that, but they have to understand what is your name. Then basically we have profile picture. Obviously it has to be a clear profile picture of your face where basically they can immediately know who they even speak with. Then we have optimized bio, what they're actually looking to sell. And then we have highlights, which are super important. What I would recommend is having at least 3 or 4 highlights about your client results. And these are not just some, client results like a lot of people post. My client got 10 clients, blah, blah. And then the next client, nobody cares about that. There's too many Slack screenshots, there are so many Stripe screenshots, like it's boring. Now, how to actually make it interesting so people who actually, get your message, see that and actually trust you immediately and see someone who's an authority is basically having some type of story sequence behind your highlights. Like, for example, do you want to know how I help my client to get, let's say, 10 clients in the first 10 days? Then the next story, for example, will be just to know that's one client every single day on a high ticket package. Can you imagine yourself closing, let's say, 3,000-4,000 euro packages every single day? And then basically it becomes a bit more interesting. And then I explain, okay, so this is the exact process we actually use. So first of all, we started actually creating content, then we started messaging people, booking calls and closing deals. And it becomes interesting, so they can actually read through the story. They can get some value from it, and they can as well then at the end, obviously, which is the goal, so they can see your results. So what I would recommend is having around 3 to 4 of those, so people can really understand you are at authority, and then we will move forward to the content, which is as well important for your messaging system. So what I would recommend is just having a couple of, photo dumps or basically, some pictures of your lifestyle. And then at the end, a couple of reels where basically you just explain a bit more about your service and the value that you can provide your clients. And look, obviously this isn't really about the content, so I won't go too much in depth to it. You can check a lot of videos on my channel about the content on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and all of other different platforms. But as well, have some content over there so they can at least see something when they open your account. So guys, that's a bit about it. It's not that complicated. It's actually super simple. So if you listen to what I said in this video and implement it yourself, I guarantee you will start booking in more calls today. And if you're an online coach making over 5K per month, but you're really struggling to go further and you want my help to build all those systems so you can actually start booking in some calls consistency, then just simply click the link in the description and just book completely free call with me. We'll audit your outreach, fix the bottlenecks, and give you a tailored plan to scale. But now that basically you know how to actually make sure that your messages are seen, you can go click the video summary here on the screen where basically I will explain exactly how can you start booking in at least 60 calls every single month with my own Instagram outreach system. Now, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, subscribe for more valuable content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.